Welcome back to Match Plot. Today we are looking ahead to the weekend's fixture, Leicester versus Coventry. Coventry come into this feeling frustrated after taking just a point at home to Norwich. Yes, the equaliser came in the 96th minute, but given how dominant we were, it's hard not to feel hard done by. Plenty of positives though. Coventry playing very good football and the stats back that up. Currently sitting in 6th, we now need to turn our performances into 3 points. That said, 2 tough fixtures ahead and it'll be crucial we put points on the board. Leicester remain one of the promotion favourites after dropping from the Premier League. They're currently 1 point ahead of Coventry and will fancy home advantage to stretch that gap. Performance-wise, they haven't quite set the world alight, but the individual quality is there, and it's won them games even when the team hasn't been at top levels. Now into expected lineups. We saw a really positive showing against Norwich with a continued 4-2-3-1 formation, but we missed the killer finish from the last few games. I'd expect Thomas-Asante to return to the 11, and we'll get into why later. I was a little bit surprised we didn't see Wolfenden get a cameo versus Norwich. I mean, for a match like Leicester, I still can't see the starting backline changing, as so far we've been limiting open play XG very well. Leicester also line up in a 4-2-3-1 formation. Now, Aaron Ramsey is out after his red card versus Oxford, so we'll expect to change there. That said, they've got depth, so there's options to mix things up in his absence. They have started to post a more consistent lineup in the last few games, so potentially more expecting on something like this. Now into their baseline stat. First looking at the defensive line. Now they actually sit very deep. Some caveats here, as in the games where they were able to dictate play such as against Preston and Sheffield Wednesday, they did in fact sit much higher up the pitch. However, for their remaining games they have sat in that deeper position. In turn, offensively, they don't sit as aggressive as many might think. Looking at their average positions versus Oxford, you can see they're very deep. They were down to 10, yes, but the same pattern showed versus Charlton. It's a consistent shape and structure from which they can be defensively solid and influence the game from deep. Their shot map is varied, a slight tendency to shoot from range, but still good direction into the box. Remove misses and blocks to highlight the goals and you'll see they're fairly sharp inside that area. Now into pass maps. So they show short and structured passing lanes, a clear stylistic tell. They look to dominate possession with shorter combinations in their own half before progressing. They rarely go long, so there's been no surprise they're 24th for accurate long balls per 90. Do also favour that right flank slightly when building in possession. You can see the lack of penetration into that final third, especially when we compare this to the likes of Coventry's activity versus Norwich. Build-up wise, Leicester will not rush the ball, and they're quite happy to sustain pressure until space opens up. That said, when space does open up, they utilise their quick forwards to take advantage. Their touches reinforce their patience, deep build and retention. Yes, they were a man down versus Oxford, but the same theme appears versus Charlton. In comparison, Coventry operate higher up the pitch, and you can see that from the Coventry versus Oxford game, and even more so versus Norwich. They're 18th for expected goals, suggesting they're not creating as many clear-cut chances as they'd like. That said, they're still managing to stick the ball in the back of the net. And that just shows how dangerous they are with the high-level talent throughout the team, being able to make a chance from nothing. Average possession-wise, Leicester like to control the game, and it's a key part of their game plan. They do have a slightly less average possession, however, it's likely to be closer than expected given the circumstances of their red card last week. Potentially a really interesting battle for the ball in this game. For touches in the box, Coventry remain well out in front. Leicester have just over half that figure. That said, Leicester are direct and effective when they do get into this area. Their scorers are varied with hints of wing play, and their quality in this area will certainly be a watch out. Now looking back into some recent games, this example here versus Birmingham. Now Birmingham controlled large parts of this game, more XG, more possession and match momentum in their favour, but got hit by Leicester's quick breaks and individual quality and lost 2-0. Charlton also, whilst they didn't control the possession in this game, they did control momentum, they limited Leicester's attack and created a higher XG. And Leicester still took the points. So the watch out for Coventry, well, we know how it feels to dominate without reward, so we must take our chances in a game like this. Now a deeper dive into Leicester's playstyle. As mentioned, they set up in this 4-2-3-1 formation, and that sits deeper than what we can expect from Coventry. They're happy to retain possession in their half, lots of short-range passing, dictating tempo and beating the press with quick exchanges, and they're very comfortable on the ball, even when pressured. When the space does appear, the ball goes into the forwards, who then drive the attack. The rest of the team support from more defensively minded positions. That gives insurance against quick transitions. Where Leicester do thrive is when space is presented in behind, utilising their quick wingers and strong centre forward to pull teams out of shape. It's going to be a very busy game for Milan and De Silva. They certainly won't want to be isolated against Mavididi or Fatawu. They both have very good control and individual talent to create chances from limited space. Their quick movement make it very challenging to make tackles without drawing fouls or the risk of being skipped past entirely. It leads to cautious defending, and both Coventry fullbacks will need support. Fatawu, a key player for Leicester, he trademarks drawing the defender out wide only to cut inside quickly and either drive towards goal or create an effective shooting position. Without the ball, Leicester are very positional, and the average positions show consistent spacing game to game. The defensive line keep play in front of them, the space in behind is limited and they get bodies in behind the ball. The double pivot sits in front of the defence to choke the midfield space. It's a limit space, be solid, let the creators take hold model. You'll see examples where the opposition have lots of numbers forward, yet Leicester stay resolute and disciplined. They've kept their shape, they don't drift from defensive duties, they're not easy to break down. How do Coventry hurt them? Coventry, whilst being away from home, will want to put their mark on the game from the off, trying to control possession of the game. The tactical challenge comes in the form of finding space, and against a well-structured defence, it's not going to be easy. This leads us straight into why I'd bring Thomas-Asante back into the starting lineup. His tendency to tuck inside and support Hadji creates overloads and tracking issues for the back four. We saw the havoc it caused versus QPR. Leicester's well-drilled defence intentionally funnels you wide with that tight midfield. Now Asante's inside run drags markers and open lanes for others. I wouldn't expect him to get much action on the ball, and instead is likely to be tightly marked. It's more of a case of his physicality and his presence that will open up opportunities for others on the pitch. He's also our most active presser, which will be very useful when Leicester try to control from that deep position. In possession for Coventry, I'd expect Grimes to sit a little deeper to orchestrate. Our roaming fullbacks seeking space on the channels and a really dense attacking line. Although we're known for our width, I'd expect narrow winger positions here to force options into the box with overlaps providing the width. We saw glimpses of this structure versus Norwich, so I'd expect further in against Leicester. I'm anticipating a rising number of crosses as the game develops. If Coventry can't find space in those central areas, expect to see a quick shift in tactics, resulting back to those cross and header tactic. The first goal is huge. If Coventry score first, Leicester will have to push up and leave space for us. It's well suited to our game style. Without the ball, I'm expecting a really aggressive 4-4-2 press. Radoni and Thomas-Asante will play a big role in this. Leicester's deeper possession will draw us higher up the pitch, so we'll need to be on guard for the space in behind. I like the aggression up front and we're very good at it. However, Leicester channel a lot through their front four, so Lampard will want to limit 1v1 scenarios, and our high line invites the runs that they'll want. Cover is essential. Pulling the last games together, Leicester, even at 10 men and without control of the game, still carried a real threat. They can create from anywhere and punish slack moments. Coventry, on the other hand, dominated Norwich and only drew to a late on goal. Lampard will be happy with the performance overall, but he'll be desperate for 3 points. Leicester aren't a side you can waste chances against. Now looking into key players. For Coventry, I think we'll see a consistent theme here. Hadji Wright, joint top scorer, and now, whilst I thought he was a touch wasteful versus Norwich, his movement was positive and he'll no doubt be a handful. Thomas-Asante, I can see him coming into the squad. I think the game's well suited to him and his inside positioning could cause confusion across the Leicester back line, and his pressing will cause a real threat to their possession-based play. And finally, Jack Radoni. The tight spaces in this game suit his quick feet. I wouldn't be shocked by a trademark Radoni header late on as well. Leicester's key players, well, it's hard to look past their front three. Mavididi and Fatawu are tricky and pacey wingers. They've troubled most defences this season and they're difficult to keep locked down. I'd expect to see them drawing defenders out with quick cuts inside to cause havoc. I can certainly see them creating chances in this game. Ayew, well, he's a top-class striker for the Championship. And whilst he's only got 1 goal this season, he's strong, he's got good movement, and will need to be carefully managed by the Cov back line. Finally, into predictions. I think you're going to see a follow-on from the Norwich game, and Coventry looking to fly out the blocks and control the possession. You'll likely see Leicester sitting deeper to soak up the pressure so they can regain control. Coventry will have a very passing style, short range mixed up with a more direct approach to help break lines. On the contrary, Leicester will be happy with short range passing and will push forward via their tricky and direct wingers. I don't think you'll see them stray away from their short range passing. They're not going to be a team that's going to go long. Coventry will be on high press, and I think you'll see Leicester try and just simply soak it up. They did this really well against Birmingham, and they were able to break numerous times from there. Coventry, I'd expect close to around 2xg, and Leicester, I'd expect around the 1 mark. I think for Coventry, you'll first see us trying to find space in the Leicester back line, and if that doesn't work, we'll resort to crosses into the box. Leicester will be fairly consistent in their wing play, cutting inside to find opportunities. Listen, I think this is going to be a really tight game. I think if Coventry can score first, it will force Leicester to come out and give space to Coventry to get more chances. Potentially, Coventry could go on to edge it. I've run it through our match plot model, and it's coming out as a 2-1 Coventry win. It's really a case of either team can win this, they just need to take their chances. Now, we're on 4 of 5 in terms of getting the results right so far this season, so we shall see. You guys let me know your thoughts. What do you think the score's going to be? Thanks for watching, guys. As always, please like and subscribe and support the channel. Until next time.